There's this show where people will take something that's been sitting in their attic for years, something that's been passed down from a grandfather, something their grandma gave them, or something really old that they found. They bring it to an appraiser on the show, and the appraiser will tell them how much that thing is worth. Typically on the show, the people who bring that item are astounded at how much the thing that's been sitting in their attic for 10 years is worth. Hundreds and thousands of dollars have been just sitting there, and they had no idea this whole time. Shows like that can make you wonder what you might have in your own attic that could be worth hundreds and thousands of dollars. Last week, we talked about the attitude of gratitude, and today we're going to talk about multiplication. But before we could talk about multiplication, we have to identify what you currently have in your hand.
So there's a story in Scripture that we've actually talked about on one of our previous episodes, but we're going to hit it from a different angle today. It's found in 2 Kings chapter 4. And it reads, "A certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets cried out to Elisha, saying, 'Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that your servant feared the Lord, and the creditor is coming to take my 2 sons to be his slaves. This woman is seeking out a prophet because she is desperate for a way out. A creditor is coming because her late husband owed a debt.'" Now, this is not unfamiliar to a lot of the stories that we see nowadays. How many people, when they pass away, leave their families not with an inheritance, but leave their families in debt? This woman goes to the prophet to seek help. She's going to the church. And the way that Elisha responds here is very opposite the way that a lot of people would think a minister would respond to the situation. His response was this. So Elisha said to her, "What do you want me to do about it?" Now, he didn't say it in that language, right? In this translation.
The last thing I probably would want to hear.
Yeah. What he says, "What shall I do for you?" He's basically saying, what do you want me to do about it? Why? How is this my problem? He says, "Tell me, what do you have in your house?" And now that is such a crucial question that he asked her. And it's also the crucial question that we ask ourselves. What do I have in my house? The answer to your problems does not lie in pastoral leadership. It does not lie in another person. The answer to your problems lies in your house. Today we're going to speak on multiplication and how to multiply the gifts that God has given to you. And I'm going to give you 3 questions to ask yourself to begin to identify and then to multiply what's been given to you. And that first question is just that. What do I have in my house? When we ask that question, we're not just looking for, I have a couch, I have a TV, I
have this artifact in my attic.
I have a dog. But, most people don't have tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of things stashed away in their attic. This is not me saying, go through your attic, go through your garage and try and find a hidden gem, or tear apart the walls and look for gold. Not what I'm saying.
Don't do that.
What I am saying though is what you need to multiply already is in your possession. And there's 3 different categories where you're going to want to search for what's in your possession. Number 1 is mindsets. Essentially ask yourself the question, what do I know that other people don't? We all have unique life experiences, and you know things that I don't know. Alexis knows things that I don't know. I know things that you don't know. And that's what makes us unique. And we have to determine, okay, what is unique about me that I currently know? Do I have a unique approach to something? Do I have a unique perspective on something? Second area is skill sets. What do you know how to do that's unique? Again, maybe you have a unique way of making bread. Maybe you have a unique way of doing Google spreadsheets. Maybe you have a unique way of designing websites. Maybe you have a unique way of teaching people how to run better or swim better or how to be a better parent. But you know how to do something uniquely, but you have to identify what that gift is.
And sometimes in order to identify that unique gift, you might be too close to realize it. There was something that Derek discovered about himself that he thought was not a unique gift, but a very average and normal gift, until one day I told him, I said, no, that is not an average gift. Not everyone knows how to make these crazy spreadsheets with all these codes and colors and drop-down menus. And that was a big eye-opener for him because he was way too close to even realize that that was a unique gift. And it took someone coming in and pointing that out about him. So realize that you might sometimes be too close to realize what your unique gift is, but that doesn't mean that you don't have one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, the third area is within tool sets. So we talked about mindsets, skill sets, and now tool sets. A tool set is a tangible thing that you might have in your possession that could be valuable to someone else. Now, this was the circumstance for the widow. She said, all I have in my house is but a jar of oil. That's a tangible possession that could be useful to someone else. Now, of course, we know that the prophet said to go home, borrow as many jars as you can, and pour out that jar of oil and fill the other jars and then sell them. That is a tangible resource.
We know a woman who actually caught on to this message about identifying what you have in your house. That same day, she went home and she thought about, what do I possess? What do I currently have in my home? And she realized that she loved making empanadas. That was something she loved to do. She was so good at it. And when she would give it away, people would always sing her praises about how delicious these were. She went, and maybe within a week, I think even maybe less than that, she started her own bake shop for empanadas, and it was all to the glory of God, and she used it to glorify him, to bless his people, and to pour back into ministries with the funds that she would earn from her business.
What do you have in your house? Don't discount anything. You know, what you're identifying when you're thinking about what mindsets do I have, what skill sets and what tool sets, you're making a list of the gifts that you have. And here's the thing about gifts. They're not for you. They're for other people. So just because you may not think that they're valuable, others will. I'll give you an example. There's a guy out there who was really, really good at Madden football. I'm talking Xbox, PlayStation 5, really good at Madden football. Now, a lot of people like Madden, and you might think, well, unless I'm top percent in the world, no one's going to sponsor me. How can I make money doing this? What he did was he created playbooks for other people who enjoy the game. They can buy those playbooks to play at Madden. And he makes $180,000 a year selling those playbooks. So don't discount anything. Again, just because you don't see the value in it doesn't mean other people won't. That's the first question. What do you have in your house? The second question is, which one of my gifts will make room for me? Now, the word says that a man's gifts makes room for him. Eric Thomas explains it like this. When he is faced with an obstacle, when there is a need presented in his life, whether it's a financial need or a health need or a lifestyle need or just a different level that he wants to reach, he goes to the Lord and he says, Lord, I know I have these gifts. I know you've given me the gift of speaking. I know you've given me the gift of writing. I know you've given me the gift of networking and whatever else his gifts are. Which one of those gifts is going to be the one to elevate me to this next level that I can use to serve people to get me there? So you've got to ask yourself that question, because there will be some things in your house that aren't really valuable to other people. And that's just the reality of it. We have to be aware of the needs and the wants of the market, of the people. How many people do we see start businesses because they've said, oh, well, I've always wanted to start this business, but then it doesn't succeed. It doesn't prosper. And the reason is not because they're not necessarily good at what they do. Oftentimes it's because there's no market. There's no one to sell it to. But for this woman with the jar of oil, all of her neighbors needed oil. There's something in everyone's house that is valuable to other people. But there's also something in everyone's house that's not valuable to other people. And we have to be discerning about what is of value to other people and what is not. And again, like Alexis said, you might be too close to identify that. So do some research, ask around. Of course, go to the Lord and be led there, but also don't be oblivious to the needs of the world.
And I think another way of putting it is, ask yourself which one of your gifts will serve the most people, because you may have multiple gifts in your house. You may have multiple things that are of value, but what's really going to filter out the gifts that are not as valuable to people is by asking that question: which gift or which thing that I possess will bless the most people? And that's going to weed out the things that are not really of value. And it's going to bring to the surface the thing that is most valuable to the people around you and who you're serving.
And the last question you want to ask yourself, once you've identified which of my gifts is going to allow me to serve the most amount of people, is this: how can I package this to get it to the people? You know, the woman with the jar of oil, she borrowed jars from all of her neighbors. And then she filled them with oil and she took those jars filled with oil and sold them back to her neighbors. Those vessels that she borrowed were the vessels that she used to serve the people around her. So you have to ask yourself, what's the best way to get what's in your house to the people? You know, if your gift is writing, ask yourself, is the best vessel a blog? Is it a book?
One gift we get quite often, and I love getting this gift, and you're going to know what I'm talking about. We have a young man that we are associated with, and we love him so much. Every once in a while, he'll send us a handwritten letter. And this is a gift that he's really worked hard on. He's worked on his penmanship. It is the coolest handwriting I've ever seen. And he's also worked on his wording and how to word certain things in his letter. And when we get one of those envelopes in the mail, I get so excited because it's the old-fashioned, like, lined paper, and it has his handwriting, and he goes into the story just updating us on his life. And I truly enjoy those so much. He actually put a bookmark that he had made himself with, like, a little daisy he found. He dried it out and he put it in a bookmark, and it makes us feel so loved and so special. But that's an example of a gift he has in his house, and he's utilizing that gift to bless the people that he's associated with and that he loves. So I would say don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't have to be this huge endeavor where now it's like, I need to borrow thousands of dollars from the bank and get a brick and mortar, and I need to start by next year. Don't do that. Don't overcomplicate it. It could be as simple as you have a jar, you bless your neighbor with oil. You have a piece of paper, you like to write, you write a letter for your neighbor. All of those things God can use to bless the people around you. So don't overcomplicate it. And I would also say, don't delay because of the season that you're in. You know, if you have a very full season, if you're a parent of young kids, don't use that as an excuse to say, you know what, when they're older, I'll look and see what I have in my house and I'll use it when they're older, when I have more time, when my job becomes less demanding. Use the season that you're in now. We have 2 under 2, and we are doing this every night because we know our kids are asleep, and we've maximized on the time that we have. You know, we've prioritized this in this current season. We could have very well used that as an excuse of YouTube's going to have to wait. YouTube's going to have to wait until the kids get older and we have more time, you know, but we didn't use it as an excuse.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest differences between successful and unsuccessful people is unsuccessful people use their circumstances as an excuse. Successful people use their circumstances as a reason.
And when you do that, you also remove excuses for other people.
That's right.
Because no one could tell me that they have kids and run a full-time business and that they can't do something extra to bless people and to serve people, because we've removed that excuse.
So all that to say, when you have identified what's in your house, you know which of those gifts is meant to serve people, and you figured out how to package it to serve people. That is how you multiply your gift. So God bless.
Happy fasting.